right, so let's talk about week 5 of our daily Stoic book. So in week 5, it's really focused on helping you deal with minor hardships, which ironically, many of us are in something that's probably a little bit more than a minor hardship right now, a little bit more major hardship with COVID-19 and our stay-at-home or shelter-in-place orders. What it's really meant to do is to help remind you and create appreciation for what you currently have, and recognizing that there could be a time where what is so common or what is comfortable to you can be taken away. And that's really that it can lead to, because when you're physically uncomfortable, it can lead to emotional unease. Case in point, what's happening all around us right now. And so really what they're trying to say is practice that discomfort so that you are able to better emotionally handle when and if that situation arises, in whatever varying degree it might be in the future. So you're not taken by surprise, number one, but number two, you're able to better handle what handle you pull, but you're better able to handle when and if that comes into play. So for example, one of the things that one of the Stoics, I think it was Seneca, used to do was, and he was a very wealthy man, he used to purposefully, lay on his floor on the concrete like there was no bed. He would purposefully go out and sleep on the street to pretend as if he lost everything. So there's different ways that you can exercise this, but it's really just helping you better prepare for when and if those situations might arise. And so the exercise this week was really trying to identify what areas of discomfort would you want to practice. And again, it's not meant to be, they said, like on a scale of 1 to 10, it's not meant to be a 10. Right. It's meant to be somewhere between like a 3 and a 5. You're like, oh, this sucks, but it's not terrible. You got to ease into it. You don't just want to throw in the pool. So you just ease into it here.
I love how I think they even mentioned, like, this is not like self-flogging,
Yes. Yeah, it even says it's mild self-deprivation, but it also can't be so mild that you're like, it's fine, I can deal with this, no big deal. Because the whole point of it is to get yourself emotionally prepared and able to better handle for when something like this, it might not be this specific thing, but something like this degree of discomfort presents itself to you.
Yeah.
And again, I think that right now with COVID-19, this is a perfect example, because even some of the most basic luxuries, and they truly are luxuries, basic luxuries that we as humans are used to, going out to eat, hanging out with friends, hanging out with family, even going to the office to work, those things that we are used to have now been taken away from us. And there's a lot of people that are really struggling with being able to both physically, but more so emotionally, adapt to that. I mean, even your son, I mean, to some degree he is, but this is a good practice for him. This is a good practice in appreciating what you truly need in life versus what you want or you currently have. Right. So if all of this was taken away, I think back to, the OG Zeno, and he was sitting pretty high on the hog. And then when he got on his boat and was traversing to a new land, all of his wealth and riches literally sank to the bottom of the ocean, and he lost it all. And he could have sat there and cried and wallowed and said, oh, poor me, why have I been wronged? Life is so unfair. But instead, he took the approach to say, all right, well, let me just pull myself up from my bootstraps and figure this out. So getting that practice a little bit day in and day out. So Sierra, what were your thoughts on this?
Well, one of the things that first came to mind was, from a spiritual standpoint, is there's a lot of religions that practice this as part of their spiritual journey. Fasting, several different religions do versions, whether it's Lent or Ramadan or there's just so many versions where it's like there's that practice of essentially there's a lot of reasons for it, but essentially you're taking something away in order to appreciate or in order to bring your attention to something else by being slightly uncomfortable. So I thought about that from sort of a world religion standpoint, but I love how, I underlined, the teacher suggests the mind or soul and body work together, each influencing the other for good or for bad. So they talk about how something that is slightly uncomfortable for your body is both challenging for your body and your mind. And you know, the idea is that you can never truly separate those two things. You can take into practice, but those two things will forever be linked. If ever your body and soul are disconnected, that means you've died or you've moved into another plane of existence. As long as you're in this physical body, those two things will remain connected. And I love how they say the Stoics did this in order to strengthen their character and resolve and ability to deal with hard times in a virtuous manner.
Yeah. So they can get through it unscathed. I like that, you know. How about you, Rob?
I took it a little bit further. Not this further. It's just a different sort of push of it is, if you do this, you are more apt to stand out from the crowd. So if you do this practice and you do it often, you don't have to go with the flow like everybody else does, because obviously groupthink is a huge part of the world where standing out, more eyeballs are on you, more criticism comes your way. If you do these little things that no one does, you're already standing out. So that next step is, oh, okay, I'm not afraid to be on my own if I have to, or I'm not afraid if I ended up living on the street, or if I had to sleep on a couch, or I had to not eat for an entire day. I could handle that. So the stronger you flex that muscle, the more likely you are to be able to go, okay, I can handle just about anything that comes my way. And obviously that's what the practice, the steps become as we move on to next week as well. But I loved the part as well to tie into what the communications course is, how you talk to yourself through it.
Yeah.
I'm going to become more resilient is the note that they write, or this is so I can become a better person. So some of the things that I wrote in that is, I'm doing this to become more mentally resilient. I'm doing this so I can overcome any obstacle, and I'm doing this so I don't use it as an excuse. So for example, if I'm hungry, and Amy knows this, I can get hangry, like many people can. I can't, if I'm hungry, I should be aware enough to not to use that as an excuse to be an a-hole, if you will. And if I tell myself, oh, okay, you're just hungry, whether I'm doing it on purpose or not, when I'm doing it on purpose, it's, okay, you're doing this on purpose to test yourself. The way you talk to yourself to get you through it.
So I'm guessing you're not planning on being on Naked and Afraid anytime soon.
Definitely not. As we work up to it, we can do that. Yeah.
Minor hardship.
Maybe that's by week.
We're only on week 5, man. We're only on week 5. Maybe by week 40.
Yeah.
Throw them out in the woods.
I would not go on that show either. Not because I mind being naked. Just it's a little nuts to me, but it is good entertainment. So I digress. So Rob, was that what you chose for your challenge, was being hungry, kind of like they talk about in the example? Did you choose that for your weekly thing?
I did, and I find that I'm kind of doing that anyways. So I get up and
because I don't cook.
Well, no, it's just I eat later in the day because I know my last meal is not going to be till 8 or 8:30 because of the work schedule. So I'm not trying to wake up and eat at 8 in the morning. I'm trying to hold off. And some days, like even right now, I'm like, man, I'm hungry. I could go eat like a massive cheeseburger right now.
So are you doing intermittent fasting, or you're just trying to space your meals?
Sorta. I'm trying to eat in a certain window. I used to do it 8 hours, but now it's a little bit, it's not quite as strict, but typically it's 9 hours or so, usually like
Okay.
noon to 9-ish by the time we're done eating some days.
Yeah.
So how did this challenge tie into your hangry?
It's the recognition, right? It's like, okay, why am I doing this? Well, I'm doing this to challenge myself. Can I meet the challenge? Yes, you can meet the challenge. So it kind of boosts your confidence at the same level, whatever the challenge is. So one thing I wrote too, which doesn't really apply right now, is going places I don't want to go. Because I always put up resistance to that. And I'm like, I don't want to go do that. Like even if it's Costco. So if presented with going to Costco, I'm like, okay, go to Costco. Just deal with it. Because life can be filled with things you don't want to do. And maybe you'll find something you like at Costco. Maybe you get
True.
a slice of pizza or something that's amazing.
That's how I motivate my family to go to Costco.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Pizza and hot dogs.
Yeah.
Incentives.
Mm-hmm.
Amy, what did you pick for yours?
Okay, so I am a total flunk out with this. I really didn't do well with this one, and it was really just because I didn't purposefully take the action for it. But I set two. I said get up early, or more so like sleep less than 8 hours, because I definitely very much treasure my sleep, and I find that it can affect me, both my demeanor and my cognitive function, if I feel like I've gotten less than 8 hours. So I wasn't really good with that. I didn't really adhere to that very well.
Okay.
And then the other one,
You're recognizing
yeah,
the items. Yeah.
I totally failed on this one. Even though we got 2 weeks to do it, I totally failed. And then the other one was hard exercise, which I didn't do either. Again, I didn't commit to it, and so it's just I have to try it again this week. But for me, the reason behind it, or what I said is, for the sleep, I'm trying to train or strengthen my brain and mental capacity, so that way I can more readily handle when I don't get enough sleep and don't feel like I'm sacked for the day or not able to still be productive. And then for obviously the harder exercise was to strengthen my body and my physical capacity. That was really the reason why. And again, those are both really good reasons, but I didn't do it. So
they're not good enough reasons.
Well, yeah. But it's but I mean, you have to even think about the idea of the hardship. The reason for the hardship, you're not going to say, yay, I'm going to be motivated to make this hard. So you have to flip your mind a little bit and say, I'm going to do this to help build up this reason, and just commit to it. Because it's really, when it comes to things like hardship, exercising that, you have to very consciously make an intention around it. It's not something that you're like, well, I'll create an environment for it, and if it happens, it happens. It has to be very intentional.
If I don't schedule my exercise time, it usually ends up not happening.
Yeah.
Because if I just say I'll get to it when nobody needs me to do anything, that will never happen.
Right.
So I literally, we have the big whiteboard calendars in our office, and I literally write it down and schedule it.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
But I know the struggle is real. Yeah. And sometimes you have to give yourself grace as far as the season of sometimes you have to move the priorities around.
Yeah. Yep. So, although every day is a new day, this is a new week. So try again, try again.
True that.
Be much more intentional with it. So what was yours? So yours was the food, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Primarily.
And how about you, Sierra?
So mine is excess noise. So for me, one of the things that I have known about myself for a long time, and you probably find this ironic, one of the ways that I work best is when things are focused, when I don't have a lot of excess noises going around and loud noise. Like things that are loud bother me. Like if that television is 1 or 2 points up from where I like it to be, it actually irritates me, creates actual irritation. And my family knows this about me. And I also my idea of hell is a loud TV plus a loud phone plus this person talking on the phone out loud plus a microwave beeping plus a car alarm going off plus they're doing workouts outside. I mean, like, that's just me. I get it, like, even thinking about it makes me feel stressed, right? So I know that I work best when I can, literally, like, I should probably have a pair of noise canceling headphones because those would be a miracle for me. But that's not my real life, right? So that's what I prefer, but that's not, I don't know whose life that is unless you're a monk, which some days sounds really cool to me to do that. So I thought about, I wrote down the self-talk. So I was going to try to expose where I normally, if things were loud, I would like run away from it or go somewhere else. And I thought, I'm going to try to actually function with it. So I said my self-talk was, I'm doing this to increase my focus. I'm doing this is so I can cope with the world. This will make me more resilient. So what I did was, instead of going in the other room, Chris had his TV unfettered, like on loud. Colt had his thing going on. There was, I have a neighbor who is autistic and goes out and like just screams randomly, which is really fun for videotaping in the garden. He just goes out and just goes like, fuck, right? Just like I'm not kidding. Really, this is what happens. So I thought, okay, I'm gonna have my workout and my PBS work, and I'm gonna actually try to type and actually try to like just focus it out. And I said I was using my choir ears. So Amy, I'm sure knows what that is. When you sing in a choir, let's say you're singing alto, but you've got a tenor next to you on one side, you've got a soprano on the other side, and you only have to hear your part. And so in choir, like sometimes when you're practicing, you literally like, you want to hear the other alto next to you, or, you kind of, then if you can't put your finger up to your ear, you have to like tune in. So I told myself I'm going to like put on my choir ears, and I'm not going to cover up my physical ears. I'm just going to have to try to focus. And I was able to do it for a short burst of time. And then I was like, I had to walk away. But I did it though.
You laughed? Yeah.
It was hard. And I wrote, still not my preference. With 2 exclamation points. Still not my preference. It's much harder for me to do my best work when there's noise. So.
Yeah.
I found it useful.
That's a tough one though. That's going from I like it silent to lots of stuff. So that's a big challenge. I would say that's probably on the higher end of the 1 to 10 scale.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't have like a needle in my foot or anything, but just mentally, like I stopped myself multiple times from saying like, can you turn that down? Or like just going in another room and finding a quiet place. And I thought, you know what? There's lots of times where going to a quiet place is not possible. So how can I cope? How can I deal? And it really like, it kind of sucks when like your own advice comes back to bite you. Because I have many times when teaching meditation to students, I have used the analogy, like it is easy to meditate when you are in a pristine spa environment and it's quiet and peaceful and eucalyptus wafts through your nose. But can you get a still mind in the middle of a busy street, in the middle of chaos? And boy, that sucks. It's hard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's tough, but yeah, I mean that's great that you very much tried to practice not so much the meditation or the stillness, but the focus and in some ways the tranquility right within right. The work that you were doing to not let it distract you. Yeah, that was a really good example.
I'm ready for an easier week next week.
I know.
I don't know. We'll see how it goes. It might get harder from here on out.
Yeah. I think they started us off easy. They were like, "Oh, this control thing, you got this." just recognize what's in your control and what's not. You just keep practicing. Yeah.
Oh, next week is all about premeditation of future adversity.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Amy's favorite one.
Plan for things to go wrong. Okay.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's a nice build-up. So this week was focused on like actually creating the environment, the experience of something that's mildly uncomfortable. And then the next one is really focused on, in some ways you could say worst case scenario, but it's really just planning for what could derail you. So that way you're more prepared. It's all about preparation. That's really at the end of the day what Stoics are trying to do. Emotional preparation, that emotional calisthenics, if you will. So that way you don't pull a mental muscle when you have to exercise your adversity in life.
To quote Bart Simpson, don't have a cow, man.
Exactly. That's Stoicism summed up in a nutshell right there. All right, well, I would say good job, everybody, except for me. Way to stay with it. I will do this again this week and get those hardships working for me.
All right. I expect to see some exercise going on in this house.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Hard exercise.
Hard. So what do you define as hard exercise?
Anything more than what I do now, which is nothing. Well, no, really, it was something where it gets to a point where you're feeling like your breathing is strained, your muscles start to burn more than just mildly uncomfortable, like, oh, it's burning a little, I guess I'll do a couple more reps. It's like, no, it's burning, I'm gonna keep going further. So kind of go deeper. That's what I mean by hard. I'm not trying to lift 300 pounds. It's more just moving through the discomfort is really the idea with the exercise.
Okay.
Yeah. That was the thought.
Good deal.
I got that COVID-15 going, so got to work on that.